Weston Newton. Representative Chapman is here today to speak, so I would like to recognize him first, and then we will move to the sign-up sheet. Before we move to the sign-up sheet, there'll be one little thing for me to say, and then we'll get straight to the sign-up sheet. Representative Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the General Committee. I just want to, before I start out, want to tell you how I learned about Kratom originally. Several years back, before I was elected, I had a employee get injured on the job, and we required drug testing. The employee had the drug test, came back clear for illegal drugs, but came back as a flag positive for Kratom. Went to the employee, and he said, "Oh, no. I have, I buy this in a convenience store. It's completely legal." And so I did a little bit of checking, did a little bit of research online, but then I said, well, okay, I've got a friend who's a physician. I'm going to call him directly and find out. And unbeknownst to me, when I called him to ask him specifics about it, he said, well, we've been dealing with this because they have a teenage child who has been addicted. And so, okay, all right, no problem. No problem. So, so when this happened, okay, from those interactions, when I became a legislator in 2023, I decided that I was going to put a similar bill in, and then once I entered those bills into the, or got right across the desk, I immediately started getting letters from constituents and people all across the state who basically family members had died from this substance, and it was listed. And I'm going to read this because it's a long acronym, but based on the data from South Carolina State Unintentional Drug Overdose Reporting System from 2021 to 2023, 168 people were deemed the cause of death was this substance. And so Kratom originally started out as a leaf from Southeast Asia off of a tree. It was turned into a powder, a pill, and a liquid. But unfortunately, chemists were able to synthesize this particular product into called 7-hydroxymetragenine, or better known as 7-OH. South Carolina has a very serious policy failure right now because Kratom is widely sold across our state. It's not FDA approved. It's not regulated for strength or purity. It's not consistently enforced in a meaningful way, I believe, but it also is highly modified with synthetic versions, making it more potent and more addictive. And simply, we can call it what it is. It is a substance that is an opioid-like substance, but it's sold and it interacts with the same receptors as an opioid, and so. But it's sold in gas stations and smoke stops across South Carolina. It has no dosage standards that are meaningful, no reliable labeling that tracks other than what we passed last year. It is behind the register now. You do have to be 21 to access it, but there's no medical oversight into this product. It's really not safe. It's not responsible. And if we introduce this drug today, it would never be allowed to be on the shelves of our convenience stores across South Carolina. Members have two choices: either regulate it like a drug, what it is, or remove it from the market. And Mr. Chairman, I would say that it's not complicated. It's not a plant anymore. It's become a synthetic substance that they're using to make it more addictive and more potent. We basically have an opioid-like substance that's being unregulated, widely sold, and is linked to 168 deaths in South Carolina. I think today we can fix it, and I urge this committee to protect the people of South Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Chapman. I'd like to acknowledge that Rosalind Henderson Myers, our other subcommittee, has joined our meeting. Thank you, Ms. Myers, for being here. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Yes, ma'am. All right, moving back to 4641 Kratom. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that there are people on both sides of the aisle, ones that support. I understand the addiction process. I understand all that. I really do understand. Just trust me on that. And I've got people that are against it and for it. We're going to have testimony in here. I'm doing my best to ask y'all to try to keep it at 2 minutes. I know that that's very hard to do, especially in some of the personal stories that get shared. If we can control our emotions to the best of our abilities, that would be very nice as well. That's all I'm asking. I understand polar opposites here. Some people have been affected negatively about this, and some people have been affected positively about this. And that's why we're here today, to hash these kind of things out. But I have to be honest with you, I'm looking at a letter from the Department of Health, the Department of Behavioral Sciences, and a letter from SLED that tell me that the FDA doesn't even approve it for, they consider it an unsafe food additive. It's unsafe as a dietary supplement. There are no FDA-approved kratom drug products that are over-the-counter containing kratom that are legally on the market in the United States. I understand that the feds are looking at the kratom product as well, and they're going to make a decision. I don't think that South Carolina has the time to wait on the feds to act on this. And I understand, again, seeing both sides, I just think that we need to make a decision about kratom as fast as possible to make sure that, one, it's fair to business owners, to make sure that they're not buying the products and keeping them on the shelves, but also to protect our public. And that's what government's highest interest is to do, is make sure we protect our constituents. So having said all that, if we can try to keep all that in mind, I'm going to go through the sign-up sheet, which is lengthy, and we're going to try to get through this today. So first up on the list, if y'all, and just one more time, just state your name, if you're for the bill or against the bill, where you're from, and please don't be nervous. I promise you everything's going to be all right, okay? So having said that, and it's my birthday Saturday, so y'all be nice. All right, so having said that, David, and I will say, is it Jamie? Jamie?
Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. David James, I live in Columbia. I oppose the ban on kratom, and don't want to wish you a happy birthday as well. Wanted to let you know, I've been taking kratom natural powder for 10 years now. I came onto it because I had a brain tumor that was removed in the early 2000s, and I had really struggled with a lot of fatigue. I had also powder, natural kratom powder, and took it, and it was like the first thing that would really help me focus again. After the brain tumor I had, and you probably can relate, when your brain is has words and you can't get them out of your mouth, I really struggled with that. And kratom really helped kind of give me my life back. And I'm one of 24 million people in the country that use it. And I'm very responsible with it. And I use the natural powder form. I buy from vendors, and there are vendors that have third-party lab testing that test for contaminants. And but I also agree that the 7-OH and the extracts are a real problem, and I think there's a differentiation between natural kratom powder bought from approved vendors and 7-OH and extracts that can lead to issues that are harmful, that are similar to what you would get with an opioid. I find it mild. I use it like coffee. I drink 3 or 4 cups a day. I had 2 cups before I came here this morning, and it just helped me focus and calm down, and I find it real mild. It's actually in the coffee family, and people have used it for, hundreds of years. So, but I agree there is the challenge with 7-OH. My recommendation would be to ban that, extracts, and get it out of the gas stations and limit use to approved vendors. And online vendors, I've dealt with many of them, and they've all been wonderful. So it's saved my life. It's helped me in so many ways, and I wanted to communicate that this morning.
Thank you, Mr. James.
Thank you.
Any questions from the committee members? On the personal stories, we'll try not to pry too much. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. James. Sheldon Bradshaw? Or Bradshaw, excuse me.
Thank you. My name is Sheldon Bradshaw, and I represent Botanicals for Better Health and Wellness, and I reside in Alexandria, Virginia. Thank you, Chairman and members of the subcommittee, for the opportunity to testify in opposition to H 4641 today. I am an FDA regulatory attorney, and I'm here not to talk about personal stories, but talk about how the FDA regulates kratom and how it regulates 7-hydroxymetriguanine. Prior to serving as chief counsel of the United States Food and Drug Administration, I was the Deputy Assistant Attorney General at the U.S. Department of Justice. But most importantly, I started my legal career here in South Carolina. After graduating from law school, my very first job was as a law clerk to the Honorable Karen J. Williams, who had her chambers in Orangeburg, South Carolina. She ended up asking me to stay a second year and then a third. So I spent 3 years clerking for her in Orangeburg and loved that experience.
Excuse me one second. I just want to pause. When Karen Williams, a dear friend, great lady, I cannot let her name be said without saying how much she is missed and a great mind she had. If you don't mind continuing.
No, I think of her constantly, and I was fortunate she asked me to speak at the portrait unveiling at the courthouse in Richmond before she passed, and that was one of the best experiences of my life, spending 3 years with her. Botanics for Better Health and Wellness advocates for evidence-based regulation of plant-derived products. As a result, we support efforts to ban chemically manipulated synthetic drugs like 7-OH. But with respect to the botanical kratom, we support common sense regulations like those that are included in the Kratom Consumer Protection Act that South Carolina enacted just last year. But one of the things I would note that I found somewhat curious, unlike its sister states that have enacted Kratom Consumer Protection Acts, they all banned 7-OH in that process, and South Carolina did not. And I think that's part of the problem we face today is you have a Kratom Consumer Protection Act that regulates kratom, but failed to actually schedule and ban 7-hydroxymetriguanine. And I would respectfully suggest that rather than repealing that legislation that was just enacted last year, that it be amended to schedule 7-hydroxymetriguanine. And one of the things that I want to make a note of, I heard a few things that I'd like to correct about kratom, is that there is an important difference between kratom and 7-hydroxymetriguanine. Kratom is a natural botanical. The reason hasn't been approved by the FDA is that under DSHEA, which was enacted by Congress in 1994, botanicals are not approved by the agency. So I hear from entities opposed to kratom that, well, it's not approved by the FDA. Well, no botanical is approved by the FDA as a supplement. FDA doesn't approve botanicals. That's why it's not approved. 7-OH, on the other hand, is a synthetic drug. It does require approval by the FDA and is being freely marketed in South Carolina without those FDA approvals. The commissioner of the FDA has described 7-hydroxymetriguanine as dangerous, illegal, and addictive, and yet it's freely available in the state. And one important distinction is that the kratom leaf contains over 50 alkaloids. One of those alkaloids is called mitragynine. The kratom leaf does not naturally contain any 7-hydroxymetriguanine. Once the leaves are harvested and left out to dry, trace amounts of mitragynine convert into 7-hydroxymetriguanine. But it's just in trace amounts. But entrepreneuring chemists realized that mitragynine can be converted into 7-hydroxymetriguanine through oxidation. So what they've done is they've extracted mitragynine, then they expose it to harsh, toxic chemicals like the chemicals you'd find in household products like Drano, pole shock, bleach, and they use that to create 7-hydroxymitragynine. 7-hydroxymitragynine should not be available for sale. And my sort of bottom line request of this committee would be to reconsider the legislation you're looking at now that would schedule kratom. The FDA and the DEA have already considered scheduling kratom. They went through this a decade ago. They considered the 8 factors set forth under the Controlled Substances Act. It failed to meet the criteria for being banned or scheduled. But 7-OH has gone through the same analysis only in the last year, and it does meet the criteria. And the DEA is scheduling it as we speak. I agree with the chair that you don't necessarily have to wait on the DEA, but you could do what the federal government is doing and schedule 7-OH and not kratom. In fact, last year, and I'm sorry, I'll wrap up, when the FDA commissioner announced that they had asked the DEA to schedule 7-OH, he repeatedly stated, we are not interested in scheduling kratom. Kratom is not the thing of concern here. And he's repeated that consistently. SLED apparently has said that there are statements on the FDA's website that say that kratom should not even be used as a dietary ingredient or supplement. Know that those statements are relics from a period 10 years ago, and the FDA has purged almost all of those statements now from its website. But importantly, attorneys from the U.S. Department of Justice now twice in the last 2 years have gone into federal court, and under oath, attorneys representing the FDA have told judges that notwithstanding those statements that SLED is pointing to, kratom is not dangerous, and that those statements do not, in fact, reflect the formal views of the United States Food and Drug Administration. I'd be happy to get citations to both of those cases to the committee, but the official position of the FDA and the U.S. Department of Justice, which represents it in court, is that kratom is not dangerous, and that the statements suggesting to the contrary do not reflect the views of the FDA. Thank you for your time, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I believe, I know there are many questions. I believe in the interest of time and trying to get everyone we want to try
thank
to
you.
move along. Thank you so much, sir. Next is Mr. Wes Roberts. Again, if we can try to keep our comments to, and I'm taking the 3rd minute off, 2 minutes, please.
No problem. I'll keep it short and sweet because we needed to hear that. So my name is Wes Roberts. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. Business owner, married, wife, 2 kids. I don't drink alcohol. I don't use drugs. I've never used drugs. But 18 years ago, I was diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia. It's called a suicide disease. It's a nerve condition that causes so much pain that people used to take their life. And so I would wake up at night when I was diagnosed, lock myself in the bathroom, screaming into a pillow. And my wife is in tears outside because she can't help the fact that I'm in pain. And finally, I don't know where I discovered it, but I came across kratom, and it saved my life. It saved my life. I cannot begin to tell you all how huge a deal this is. And I understand it's an emotional topic for a lot of us because it's that important. And again, the natural kratom, not the synthetics, the natural. There's so many common sense ways we can deal with this. But you're going to drive people like me to do, I don't even know what. If this gets banned, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going to go because it's either live in so much debilitating pain that I want to end my life or break the law, going and getting kratom from another state, driving it here, or looking at other substances. What in the world am I going to do? So I would just encourage you all to follow up with that research and everything that that gentleman just said, and to listen to some of the stories, because this isn't a recreational thing. This is a natural substance that we are taking that is life-saving. That's all I have to say. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer.
Mr. Roberts, thank you for your brevity and thank you for your passion. Holly Aldo Brooks?
Also Brooks. Holly Also Brooks.
So sorry. Thank you.
That's fine. I'm Holly Also Brooks. I represent a group, Fentanyl Kills You, from York County. We also are don't only don't concern ourselves with fentanyl, we concern ourselves with other drugs as well. You've heard all the history of what this drug is. I would just like to tell a story of what I did last night. I went into, can I present that? Can you show this to them? I went into a vape shop begrudgingly last night in Fort Mill, and I do have knee pain. I went in the store and stated I had knee pain. I had heard of Kratom. How could they help me? You know, I'd never tried it before. The shop owner said, yes, we have Kratom, and yes, that would definitely help you. I said, my knee pain's pretty bad. Do you have anything else? He said, oh, definitely, we have 7-0. He said, I tell you what, he said, I'm going to give you a packet, and I'm going to give it to you for half price. I said, wow, how nice of him to do that. Now, if you will look at the back of that packet, of that pill that I gave, the smaller packet, you know, my knee pain's pretty bad, so I'm thinking about taking it. Can anybody tell me what my dosage should be on the back of that packet as you're looking at that? Because I'm going to need to know.
And you're really testing my eyes and showing my age, but do not exceed the recommended dosage of half, I think that says half, it might say third, tablet in 24 hours, period, or 4 days per month.
Yes.
And then it gets yellow, and there's no way I can read that.
And then it gets yellow, and then there's no way that you can read that. So there are labeling issues with these products. I walked out, and he did sell it to me for half price, told me to try it and come back. So if anyone here, you know, has any knee pain or back pain, I'm going to give this to y'all if you want to take it home and try it out. If anybody wants to try it, it's unregulated, not labeled well. God knows what's in it. Feel free to take that. It's my gift today, and try it. I have no need for that. This product on the back also says, I wrote down the entire back label of that, and it says, this product may be harmful to your health, has not been evaluated by the FDA, and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Consult a physician before using if taking other medication. So what is this for? If I walk into a vape shop, why am I going to get this product? What is it for? If it is not used for a medical condition, what I would like for someone to answer, what is it for? Why are they selling it? What is its use and value to the state of South Carolina? I don't know. We have drug interactions, things with gabapentin have caused deaths, any type of benzos. So, you know, I didn't know that unless I looked that up. Maybe I'm taking gabapentin as well, and I go home and take this. You know, you go to CVS and you come out with a whole pamphlet of drug interactions and how to use this. Doesn't come with that, and I can barely read it. I have a letter from someone I would like to read very quickly. This is a letter from a person who's close to me, who was taking 80 fentanyl pills a day. Still here. I struggled with fentanyl for 8 years. I got a year clean and relapsed on Kratom. Within 2 weeks of taking 7-0, my addiction grew to $100 a day. Powder Kratom detox is bearable, where 7-0 is not. 7-0 detox is just as violent. Fentanyl. I'm spending more than fentanyl addiction, and the only thing I notice that it's different is one is illegal and fatal, the other isn't. The day I tried 7-0, it could have been fentanyl, and I wouldn't have been able to tell because of how similar the feeling is. 7-0 will make you nod out, and when you take it, it's just like fentanyl. I'm not against kratom powder, but I feel that has to go for the extracts to go because they already have products like MGM and Pseudo to replace the 7-0 ban. 7-0 has just as bad a grip on me as fentanyl did. I used it for 2 weeks, and I've been trying to quit for 6 months. Like many others, I have faith I can taper and stop so I don't have to go to detox and reset my life, but I'm losing faith. I live a secret life of 7-0 obsession while trying to have a normal life. In 6 months, I have spent $20,000 on 7-0 products. I work in recovery. I know the problem is my choice, but there are people out there going through divorce and losing their homes to go to rehab because it was sold to them as a dietary supplement and healthier than caffeine. People that know nothing about addiction are heading into detox because they took a tablet to try and cut down on energy drinks or coffee. My life and many others has been flipped upside down due to my mistake of trying 7-0. I know my mistake is made, but it's not fair to the ones that have no idea what they were taking and tried it as a dietary supplement. People aren't aware until it's too late. So that was me walking in last night, telling them I had knee pain. So someone goes in there and gets that, a high rate of addiction follows. Again, I don't know why this is sold. I don't know the purpose of it. If it's not for medical use and you need to consult a doctor, and the warning after warning, there are lots of warnings on the back. There are a lot of warnings. Hence, why do we need it with so many warnings? Unregulated. We don't know what's in it. And I have stories of, detox centers saying that they are seeing a high rate. Just almost everyone comes in kratom positive.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Alston-Brooks.
Thank you.
Okay, so it is evident that we are not going to get through everyone that has signed up today, so we're going to have to reconvene this meeting at some point. So I will ask, if I call your name and you are from a local area, if you're right here from around Columbia, if you could hold and testify for when we reconvene. But if you're from out of town, a little further away, I'd like to get you up here to hear you. And I don't have a gong, but I'm going to have to buzz y'all. We got to try to get through as many people as we can. So next is, I'm a guy called David Schaefer.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. My name is David Schaefer. I'm a physician, board certified in both emergency medicine and medical toxicology. I'm the director of medical toxicology at Prisma Health in the upstate, where I practice in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm also an attending medical toxicologist for the South Carolina Poison Center, also known as the Palmetto Poison Center. I had prepared a testimony, and it's apparent to me that you all now have a fair amount of background on kratom and on 7-OH, as we're calling it. And I do want to explain that my goal is not to tell you I oppose or in favor of any specific bill, but to make sure we are understanding the evidence the same, including from a medical perspective. So I'm going to skip over a little bit of this, and there's a few points I want to be very clear about. First of all, traditional kratom, botanical kratom, natural kratom, whatever you want to call it, has opioid-like effects. Okay, I'm not just talking about 7-OH. It binds to the mu opioid receptors in the brain, the same as oxycodone, heroin, and fentanyl. Yes, there is no question, as you have heard today, that 7-OH is more potent. It does not change the fact that traditional kratom, botanical kratom, has these same effects and that we have seen deaths and addiction and dependence and withdrawal from both. There is a clear misunderstanding, that perhaps a logical fallacy, that natural is safe. Okay, cocaine and opium both grow out of the ground, and I do not need to educate you about the dangers of both of those drugs, okay? The other problem that I think you probably understand is that just because something says it is kratom, or just mitragynine or just traditional botanical kratom does not mean that it does not contain large amounts of 7-OH. In fact, this has been demonstrated in multiple studies that if you pull something off of one of these shelves and it doesn't say anything about the word 7-hydroxy, 7-OH, and it just says kratom, many of them will still have very large amounts of 7-hydroxy, more potent than morphine. Okay? So beyond the risk of overdose, of which we have had overdose deaths, we as emergency physicians and medical toxicologists are alarmed. I talk to my colleagues daily about this by a rise in the number of patients presenting to our ERs for kratom withdrawal, a syndrome identical, indistinguishable from fentanyl or heroin withdrawal. Many of them tell us they had no idea that something they purchased over the counter could lead to a physiologic dependence, not just a psychological addiction. I have dealt with this scenario as recently as less than 48 hours ago. This has been addressed nationwide and statewide issue. I would correct a few things about the FDA. First of all, there are plenty of botanicals that have been turned into drugs. I would remind you that aspirin originally came from willow bark from a tree. Most of our malaria drugs came from plants. They have to have a good demonstrated medical benefit, and our pharmaceutical companies will happily take a botanical product and turn it into a prescription medication. From a South Carolina perspective, Poison Center calls regarding kratom have increased by over 400% from 2021 to 2025. And so far in 2026, we are on track for another 150% increase from last year. Okay, so I'm going to close here. We are not all referring to the same thing when we say kratom. We're not, even when we say traditional kratom, very likely getting our hands on 7-OH because there is very little regulation on these products. Both products have caused death, addiction, withdrawal, and other complications, and these are readily available at gas stations, vape shops, and people will tell us every day in the ERs they had no idea what this could lead to and that they can't afford rent because they are spending all of their money on these products. Thank you. I'll take any questions.
If you just hold on 1 second, if you'll get those remarks that you have to Mr. Henson, we'll make sure that those are put in the record and available for our.
Well, I
subcommittee.
ended up ad-libbing because a lot of what was already said, I didn't want to
Hey,
repeat.
Good job ad-libbing then.
Yeah.
I believe Representative McCravy may have a question.
Sure.
Quickly.
I really appreciate you testifying. This is the kind of testimony we need that's neutral, factual. And when you said, I think you said, and I just want to make sure about this, that this substance is addictive the same way oxycodone is, the same way opiates are, the same way fentanyl is. Is that true?
They are both addictive. Yes, absolutely. Now, the percentage of people who regularly use kratom who will end up with a use disorder, so a substance use disorder, we have estimates ranging from 1 in 4 to 1 in 9 or 10, but there's no question that they are both addictive. Yes.
And just, if you would, I think you said something about withdrawal was the same, I guess.
Syndrome.
Withdrawal syndrome. Can you describe what that is? And did you say it's similar to heroin?
Yes, it's opioid withdrawal. So these products bind to the opioid receptors. If you stop using it or don't use as much, you will develop withdrawal, just like someone who stops using heroin or fentanyl or someone who stops drinking alcohol. These patients arrive to the emergency department miserable, and it's very hard to treat. And interestingly, what we're now doing is starting them on Suboxone. You may have heard of Suboxone as the first-line drug used to treat fentanyl use disorder, opioid use disorder. So we are actually treating patients with kratom use disorder, kratom withdrawal, with the same drug we use to treat opioid use disorder.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Henderson Myers.
Thank you so much. Doctor, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
You talk about your own experience as a physician. Have you been in contact with any other physicians in any other states regarding kratom?
Of course, it's a common topic at most of our toxicology meetings around the country. There's probably only about 500 of us practicing as board certified around the country, but this is an issue nationwide. So yes, I have.
Okay, and I was asking because I know that today the state of Illinois has a subcommittee meeting on this very same topic and restricting and increasing fines under certain conditions.
Interesting. Yeah, I perhaps don't follow the other state laws closely enough, but very interesting. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I just wanted your opinion.
Sure. Any other questions I can answer?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Going to need Miss Nancy Shipman. Pretty please. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman and members of the subcommittee. My name is Nancy Stedman Shipman. I'm the founder and executive of Wake Up Carolina. We are a nonprofit recovery community organization that serves Berkeley, Charleston, and Dorchester counties. My goal today is to share what we have seen and what we have heard from the community that we serve. We work directly with young adults, individuals, veterans, and families touched by substances. We provide community education, outreach, and recovery in real time. While our work is rooted in the Tri-County area, we also serve and partner with other individuals and organizations and families across the state, seeking help, resources, and guidance. Earlier this year, Wake Up Carolina, alongside the Berkeley County Coroner's Office and Ernest E. Kennedy Center, which is the Berkeley County's treatment center, convened a community town hall focused on emerging drug trends, and that included Kratom. That conversation brought together professionals, community members, and confirmed that what we were seeing was not isolated, but already impacting young adults, individuals, and families in our community. Following that, the conversations that continued afterwards became clear that we are seeing at the community level needed to be brought forward. Given the impact we've been witnessing, it's been important for me to make time to be here today and share our community perspective. In our work, I sit with families in crisis. I hear what they're experiencing in real time, often before it reaches the formal system. About a year and a half ago, I attended a national discussion on emerging drug trends where substances like this were being referred to as gas station heroin. That was a turning point for me because it was aligned with what we were beginning to see locally and what was continuing to escalate since. We first began hearing and seeing the desperate claim about Kratom and needs for resources in 2020. At that time, it showed up as questions and uncertainty. Over the past several years, that has shifted into real-world impact, real community impact. Families seeking help, providers trying to respond, and increasing complexity. What began as something we didn't affecting individuals, young adults, families, and veterans across our communities. What we are seeing is consistent across Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester counties, and it is reflected in conversations statewide. We are seeing increased youth exposure and access, products that are evolving and becoming more potent, and a widespread professionals are trying to understand something that is already here. This is not something we are hearing about occasionally. We are hearing this daily. Much of what we are learning about this is not coming through formal channels. It is coming from the people. Through our work at Wake Up Carolina, individuals have shared that with us, they are alive today because naloxone was used in response to what was believed were Kratom-related forward to our county boards, task forces, overdose fatality review boards, and collaboratives. What became clear in those spaces is that there is not a shared understanding of how to the impact of this is not abstract. It is deeply personal and in many cases devastating all zip codes, all socioeconomic, all education, and all communities.
I don't know if it's mine or theirs.
Mine's playing.
Okay.
Hold on, let me switch.
Crisis and adults where use has contributed to fatal outcomes. These are not hypothetical risks. These are situations that we have experienced and brought to our attention. What makes this especially challenging is that this substance is widely accessible, low cost, and perceived as safe. At the same time, when something goes wrong, there's no clear or constant pathway. From where we sit, this is open something that communities are now trying to manage with the tools or systems. From a community perspective, that is not sustainable. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to share what our communities are experiencing and letting me be the voice for those that we serve. Thanks.
Because 708.
Ma'am, if you could step back up, I believe Representative McCravy has a question.
Just real quick, and I should have asked the doctor this, in your experience with your patients and the people you treat, have babies been born addicted to this?
I'll be real honest, we don't provide treatment, we provide support services. So I don't have the knowledge to be able to answer that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So this will be our last testimony for the day. Dr. Demi Garvin. We will, after this, we will have another meeting to continue this bill number. I apologize. Greater response than I think anticipated. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for this opportunity this morning. I'm Dr. Demi Garvin. I am Director of Forensic Services for Forensic Science Network here in Columbia, South Carolina. This is my 39th year in forensics. I'm a board-certified forensic toxicologist, drug chemist, and also clinical pharmacist here in South Carolina. I am involved in hundreds of death investigations throughout the state of South Carolina and some in other states annually, providing forensic toxicology and drug chemistry expertise as well as clinical pharmacy support where needed. I'm here this morning in the brief time that I have because I'm all about education, to try to educate you a little bit more, much like the medical toxicologist who spoke earlier with regard to kratom and its various chemical cousins, if you will. The first thing that I want to say is that there's been an absence this morning of education with respect to the fact that individuals who consume by whatever route of administration, oral, intravenous, smoking, kratom, that is the botanical form, otherwise known as metragenine or metragenine, peanut, potato. When that drug, form of the drug, hits our livers, hits the liver, it is broken down or metabolized, if you will, into two compounds. The first is 7-hydroxymetragenine, which is approximately 10 to 20 times more potent than the parent drug, metragenine. That is the compound that you've heard referred to this morning as 7-OH, which can also be purchased via synthetic or chemical synthesis, if you will, in vape shops, smoke shops, convenience stores, and online. The 7-hydroxy is further metabolized or broken down in the liver into a compound, which has not been mentioned this morning, called pseudoindoxyl metragenine. That may be a compound that is unknown to many of you. It is at least 100 times more potent than metragenine. Both of these compounds, the 7-OH and the pseudoindoxyl metragenine, are made in the liver in an effort to rid the body of the compound, of the parent compound. This is, standard operating procedure in our livers when we take many drugs. But they are both also available now in products that are sold in these locations that I previously mentioned. I have personally been involved in providing consultation and third-party testing services in cases that involved adolescents, and basically from the youngest was 17 years old all the way to individuals who are veterans. So the principal mechanism of death is respiratory depression, opioid toxicity, if you will. These compounds behave as opioids, and the ultimate mechanism is respiratory depression. Although I would add, which has not been discussed this morning, that it appears that there is some cardiotoxicity also of concern, and that is emerging data. So that's not. There's not been anything really published about that yet, but that's sort of beginning what we're beginning to see with the data. These drugs also have an impact on driving under the influence cases, and so I would put that forward to you as well. That's not been discussed this morning. And with that, in the time that I have, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity, and I'd be happy to take any questions, and you know where to find me if you need to.
Well, we're up against the clock now. I will say this will do this for this meeting. Please, people that are out there, if you feel like you can't make it back up here for our next meeting, Case Britton at SC House, email me. My phone number is 843-907-3191. Call me, text me. I'll do my best to hear from you and make sure whatever y'all get, we get in front of the committee if you can't make it back Tuesday or whatever.
This is insane.
Oh, so it's got to be on their end that's messing up.
Yeah, it is.
Dr. Marilyn Eustace would blast her bootay.
Yeah.
Those better be happy birthday texts too. So y'all have a great day. Thank y'all for being here.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Whoa.
Is that it?
And yeah, apparently. And it's the doctors that lie the most.
I know.
I cannot believe what I just heard. This too early. Like Laura says, this too early. Or Amy, or I forgot the comments, but it is too early in the morning to hear this BS. I tell you that much.
Oh, yeah. I just can't. I can't even.
And then
No, don't do that.
because society puts like doctors and toxicologists and all that. They put them on a pedestal, and then she can't even say respiratory. It's respiratory depression. Kratom does not cause respiratory depression. And then who the hell is injecting kratom? Who's smoking kratom?
You know what though? Yesterday, when I was talking to that one rep's assistant or whatever,
I'm sorry, my camera off because I'm tired.
yeah, I know. I should have warned you. I didn't
Yeah.
know. But he was, that they were asking a lot of questions, and he's like, "So can you smoke it?" And I'm like, "Nope. If anybody says they're smoking it or they talk about it," I was like, "They're bold-faced ass lying." So it's like that. People just need to be more educated, and having these people come in there and make that shit up does not help the situation.
Man, I swear. Oh, I roll out.
I don't know, man. That's not the worst I've seen.
This ain't the worst. Trust us. This is brought to you by the wreaking havoc that 7OH is doing to communities. I can 100% tell you. It is why South Carolina is trying to ban kratom. It is why all the other states are trying to ban kratom.
Absolutely. I mean, you heard the fucking lady with the knee problem.
Yeah. Going in, and then they give it to her for half price. I'm surprised they didn't do the free sample.
I thought that's what she was going to say, because that's the stories we hear.
Oh, yep.
Day in, day out, day in, day out. It's so, man. Like, I wish that 7OH will be the absolute death.
Yeah. Death to kratom.
Of kratom.
Amy, we started like almost an hour ago. So yeah, you came in at the end. But Sheldon did amazing. He did amazing.
Yeah, I love him.
And then that guy with the other, I texted Laura. I was like, "There's a trigeminal neuralgia patient testifying."
Oh yeah, the dude looked like Indiana Jones.
Yeah, yeah, he did
seems
amazing
cool.
too. Like I don't, and then I'm honestly glad that we could see that the Seven Hope person was sitting in the audience. So I'm glad we didn't have to hear his BS. But it's like they turned the blind eye. Like, oops, our bad. 7OH is causing the problem. But hey, they try to frame it as it's an alkaloid. No, 7OH is not an alkaloid.
That's their thing now. It's like they went from changing their stance. Now they're like, just don't sell it in gas stations, pretty much. That's what 7OH is. Like that's literally at the end of the day all they ask for. But it's like, dude, you're still wreaking havoc. Like, you're wreaking havoc. Oh my God, I hate 7OH. Like, I hate it.
Hate it.
Every single time the sentence even starts, when they say poison control, I'm like, here we go.
Here we go.
Poison control center numbers have went up, ER visits, rehab facilities. It's like all 7OH.
And, you know, people have been misled into saying it's kratom. And so when they go in and visit or they call poison control, they're saying they're having adverse events or whatever with fucking kratom.
Yeah.
They're popping the 7-OH.
I mean, dude. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Anybody that supports 7OH is supporting a kratom ban.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
You selfish ass.
Like if you, and you know, and I'm not saying that the people that have been duped into 7OH, you know, I feel bad for them and shit, you know, and I feel bad for 'em when it gets taken away. But I am demonizing 7OH products and the irresponsible people that manufacture them and make money off of all the consumers.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I guess we're going to. Is there any? I'm so behind because of yesterday. I mean, oh my goodness.
Let me see. Gotta check my trusty dusty Google Calendar.
Trusty Dusty. Yeah, I'm worn out. I mean, it was a good visit, but it was not a very good outcome yesterday in Tennessee.
Yeah, we'll eventually, you know, Jen's got to recoup
Yeah.
the live stream the Senate and the House hearing that happened in Tennessee yesterday. I live streamed the House hearing, didn't make it in time, and had the wrong link for the Senate one. I was totally watching a different one. But yesterday I had to wake up early again and watch.
You had a lot of shit going on.
There were so many yesterday. But apparently, so that lady mentioned the Illinois one. Yeah, that's happening today. But that's a KCPA.
What? Okay.
So we might check that out later on today.
Check it out. I'm not sure if they'll pick up tomorrow or I can't remember. I don't know what he said.
No, I don't know when.
He just said later.
And that's always the thing, you know, when you like we went to Tennessee for nothing other than to show up on the 11th, you know, because they didn't have, you know, due to time constraints, they didn't even get to the Helton Haynes bill.
Yeah, I mean that's how legislation, like that's how it goes sometimes. But that time, I don't know. I feel like that time was kind of on purpose.
I felt like it was coordinated, honestly. I really do. But yeah, we'll end the stream and we'll say South Carolina is trying to ban all kratom because of 7-OH. That is what we just witnessed.
Yep. And
if you know you take 7-OH, shame on you.
Yep.
Shame on you for being the anchor to the ship that was carrying kratom.
Well, you know, I don't know. And I don't know. I'm not even going to go into all that. I'm just going to say that. Yeah. Let's just say I'm sick of 7OH. And if you're advocating for it, then you're the problem.
Yep, exactly.
Period. Anyway, all right. Well, everybody have a good rest of your day.
Yep, bye everybody.